Okay, good afternoon, grade 11 students. It is 4 o'clock and we are getting started with our lesson today. Just a reminder that my name is Alan Flint and I will be conducting the lesson today. If you guys have any questions or anything that you want to discuss, please raise your hand and we can then discuss it from there. What we have been doing over the last few days is we've been focusing on a section of work called Access. Like I mentioned in the previous lessons, Access forms part of the Microsoft suite. So you've got Microsoft Word, Microsoft Excel, Microsoft PowerPoint, and then the last one, which a lot of students are not familiar with, which is Microsoft Access. Okay, so we are going to be taking it really slowly with this section of work because it is important for matric. I was looking at the past paper from last year, and Access counted 40 marks out of the final paper, which is about 20% of the paper. So extremely important section of work that you guys need to grasp. And the more time you spend doing it, the easier it's going to get. So let's get going with Access. I'm just going to give you a slight or a bit of a revision, a bit of a catch-up session on what we did yesterday, and also just give you the learning outcomes of what this lesson is going to be about. So what we are going to focus on today is two main sections of work. We are going to look at the different types of data that we use in Access. So there are about 8 or 9 different types of data that we use, and we're going to explain each type of data as well as where it can be used. I will explain it to you guys in the PowerPoint, and then once I open up the PowerPoint, the Access database, I will then go and show you where you can find these types of data and where to insert them and where to change them. The second thing we are going to look at is how to change your field's data type, and that's basically just what I mentioned right now. So there's two things that I'd like you guys to understand by the end of this lesson. Again, stop me and ask questions and we can interact and we can discuss any questions that you may have. So the 4 documents or the 4 programs that you guys need to know is Microsoft Word, Excel, PowerPoint, and then the last one, what we are focusing on today, Access. So what we've covered so far, in case you missed any of the lessons previously, we looked at the purpose of a database. And we said that a database is basically there to capture data and store it electronically. Individuals like you and me, we are able to create our own databases on information that we may want to store, or businesses and companies are able to store information on their products or on their customers or on their employees. We then had a look at table properties, and we had a look at how to edit our table. We had a look at the fields, we had a look at the records, and basically how to insert new data and how to change new data and format a table. And the formatting, if you remember, was very similar to that of Microsoft Word and Excel, where we were able to change the font to bold. We were able to change the font size as well. We were able to make rows in a table bigger. We were able to change the field width. And I will go over that again. And if any of you want me to go over that again, I'm more than happy to do it. So just pop your message or put up your hand and we can discuss it. Yesterday, we had a look at the main features of Access. We had a look at tables, queries, forms, and we were not able to get to reports. So I'm going to spend a little bit of time trying to cover some of those again and just kind of reiterate those points that we went through. Okay, so let's get into what we want to focus on today. We are going to look at the types of data that can be used in Access. And as you can see on the screen, the types of data that we get is a short text and a long text. We get a number, we get date or time, we get currency, we get an auto number, we get yes or no, and we get an OLE object. Okay. So first of all, the first type of data that we are going to look at in Access is short text. Now, short text is used for names, surnames, or company names. Any one of those can be stored in a short text, or any kind of character that is less than 255 characters. So in a database, what you'll typically get is you'll get a table, and then you'll get a field, and what you will store in that field would either be names, surnames, age, or company names, or email addresses. And in that field, you need to tell the database or change the database so that the field will represent a short text, or the data will be in the form of a short text. It's extremely important over here. If you choose the incorrect data type for your field, the data will not be displayed. Okay. So the first one we had a look at is short text. Just a reminder that I am going to go through this in the PowerPoint, and then I will look at a database as well. And what you guys can do is you can see practically how we can change the data type. The second one that we get is a long text. This is used for comments and descriptions, and the text entries longer than 255 characters. So any word or any sentence or paragraph that you type into a database, if it is longer than 255 characters, you will have to set the data type to a long text. And this is generally for comments or descriptions or longer sentences that you may want to use in your database. Okay, the third one that we are looking at is a number. This is the type of data that we're going to use for cell phone numbers, the age of people's, any sort of number value that you want to put into a database. You will set the data to a number. So like the description says over here, the type of data that is a number will consist of numbers, and the examples include age, amounts, or distances. Any one of those can be put into your database. Okay, the next type of data that we get is date and time. This data contains future, present, or past dates and times. An example of this would be if you have a database of all the employees that work for your company. You might set a field to say that you want to store data based on when your employees started working at your company. If you want to store that type of data, you will set your field to a date, and then you will put in the date format or the date when that particular employee started working at your company. Some examples include birthdays, dates, possibly the date that a company purchased a product, the date that the product was sold. Any sort of dates or times that you want to put into a database would be stored as a date time type of data. The next one is currency. Currency includes data that is in the form of prices. This could be rands, dollars, euros, any type of currency that you want to store in a database would be stored under the data type currency. So this data includes prices, the price of a product that you may be selling, the price of a product that was sold, any type of currency, the amount that an employee earns, the amount that needs to be paid. Any one of these can be seen as a currency type of data. If this does seem like quite a lot to take in right now, I do understand it. There are a lot of different data types, and maybe just kind of looking at these words doesn't really make sense. But when we go through the database and we look at the different types of fields, I will show you practically how this all comes into play, and hopefully then it makes a little bit more sense. Okay, the next one over here is an auto number. The data here is sequential, so basically it moves in order. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, up to however many rows or records you have in a database. So the first record that you put into your database will automatically be set as an auto number, and it will be given the number 1. The second record that you put in will be given the number 2. The third record that you put in will be given the number 3, and so on and so forth. And as you can see, each number in the database will be unique. So you can't have an auto number where there's a 1 and a 1, and you can't have an auto number where there's a 2 and a 2. Auto number will automatically give the record a specific number. Okay. The next type of data that we have is a yes or no type of data. And like it says over here, the data type will either be yes or no. What we can also do is we can change these to check boxes, so that if the box is checked, it means that it is a yes. If the box is unchecked, it means that it is a no. This type of data answers a question that is stated in the field. So for example, when we look at the database over here, you will see that one of the databases is, or one of the fields states, is a team in the relegation zone? And then you can tick off, yes, this team is in the relegation zone. Or has this person paid for their product? And you can click on that box, yes, or you don't have to check on it to know, and it will automatically know that that person or that company has not paid for a specific product. And then the last one that we are looking at is an OLE object, where graphics, photos, videos, or music can be stored in this type of data. Cool. So I'm just going to run through those quickly again, just so that you guys are familiar with them. I'm just going to go back a couple of slides and then look at them, and then we'll do practically how you actually insert these types of data into a database. So number 1, short text. Number 2 is your long text. Number 3 is your number. Number 4 is your date and time. Number 5, currency. Number 6, auto number. Number 7, yes or no. And then the last one, OLE objects, which is graphics, music or videos that can be stored as a type of data. Okay, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go into an actual database. And for those of you that have been in the previous lessons, you would be familiar with this database because I've been using the same one. If you would like to download this database, you're more than welcome to. Reminder that if you open up this database, it should open up the program called Access. So here we go. Okay, a reminder that this is the opening screen that you will see in Access. Generally, when you look at the screen, it just looks blank. There's nothing out there in front of you, and a lot of students get confused about this. I've mentioned it a couple of times. Please do not panic when you see nothing in front of you over there. What you need to do is you need to first look into this navigation pane, especially when your questions are stating a specific thing that say, open up the table Premier League information, and immediately you need to know where to find that and how to open it up. So the question states in your exam, you guys are writing your exam now, it says, open up the Premier League info table. So I see there's a chat over here. And the Premier League table will open up. Sorry, I see that there's a chat over here that says can't see anything. Can you see something now?
I know it's just the different type of data used, the hyperlink with your little wheel turning to show it's loading, but there's nothing popping up.
Yeah. Still nothing, eh?
Yeah, still nothing.
Okay, let me just see over here if I go back. I'm just going to close it and then open it up again. Still nothing here.
Yeah, still not seeing anything.
Okay, so you guys seeing the different types of data in Access, or you just seeing the PowerPoint?
I'm seeing the PowerPoint with that text with the hyperlink that you can click on to open.
Okay.
But when you click on it, then nothing happens.
Okay. Let me go out of this. Can you guys see my desktop now?
Oh no.
Okay. Is it open now?
No, it's still just a PowerPoint with the different data types and the hyperlink. Maybe if you go there at the bottom by share screen, if you open the PowerPoint on a different share screen option, maybe it will show then.
Keeps on saying that my share screen is paused. On?
Yeah, now I can see it. Yeah, now I
Okay,
can see.
sorry about that. I don't know. It's a technical issue there. Okay, sorry about that. What we were looking at is we were looking at the database. And so now we're looking at different types of data that we are that we could use in a database. Okay, so the first thing that we're going to look at is just a reminder about what each one of these is called. This is your field over here, and the field's name is ID. Over here, this is a field, and the field name is clubs. This over here is a field name, and the field name is stadium. Current position, goal scored, relegation zone, all of those are your fields. This over here is your records. So you can see that we have 20 records in this database. Just going back to that navigation pane over here, you'll notice that we have a table called grade 11 students, and we also have another table called Premier League info. Currently, I only have the Premier League information table open over here. If I open up the grade 11 dot table, you'll notice that a separate table opens. And now what I can do is I can navigate between the two tables. But for now, we are only going to look at the one table and the data type. So what we are going to do over here is we are first going to click on our field. And you'll notice at the top over here that there are two extra tabs that open up at the top over here. If I click on fields, automatically over here, you will notice that you've got a little icon that says data type. If I click on data type over here, you'll notice that the first one that appears over there is a auto number. That was one of the data types that we looked at. And if you leave it there, it gives you a short description. It says it sets the data type for the field. Data type controls the type of data that the field stores, such as integers, text, and currency. Those are just examples of some of the data types that we can use. If you guys remember the types of data that we used, I hope that this kind of makes sense over here, that if I click on club or clubs field, you'll notice that the data type changes to short text. And I'm going to ask you guys a question here. If you guys can answer, you can, but if you aren't able to, it's okay. What do you think the data type will be for stadium? You can put it in the chat if you want. What do you think the data type will be for stadium? If you guys want to type it in the chat, I'm happy. Or if you want to put your mics on or chat on, that's fine. Okay, Priyanka says it's long text. That's a really, really good effort. Thanks, Priyanka. However, a reminder that a short text will be anything less than 255 letters or characters. So, very nice, Michaela. It's going to be a short text. Excellent answer over there. If I type anything over here that's more than 255 characters, it will then be a long text, Priyanka. Okay. So we had a look at long text, we had a look at short text. Just a reminder that the ID was an auto number. The field over here, the next one after stadium, is called current position. What do you think the data type is going to be over there for that field? You can type it into the chat as well. Excellent, very nice. We have the answer over there from, sorry, I'm not actually sure how to pronounce the name, Michael? Michael? Is it Michael? Makil? Sorry, apologies, forgot your name incorrect. Very nice answer there. You said number. The answer is correct. Current position, as you can see, will host a data type called number. Very nice answer over there. And we can see the trend over here. So goals scored. What is the data type going to be? It's also going to be number, because you can see that numbers are stored in this data type over here. Okay, and then relegation zone. This is a little bit of a tricky one. What do you think the data type is going to be for the relegation zone? You guys can put it into the chat if you want as well. Okay, if you guys are struggling with that one, that's okay. The data type for the relegation zone is going to be yes or no. Okay, very, very nice, guys. I like that answer over there. If I click on yes, you automatically see that Liverpool is in the relegation zone, which I think they should be. And because I'm not really a Liverpool fan, but you can see if I go down to the bottom over here of my table, Bournemouth, Aston Villa, and Norwich City are all in the relegation zone, and that is ticked off as yes. I can untick it, and I can tick it as well. This also works for if people have paid you. If you've got a database based on who's paying you and who hasn't paid you in your company, you can have a data type, or sorry, you can have a field that's set as a data type yes or no, and you can check off yes or no. Just going through the rest of them, Premier League titles 1, that is going to be the data type number. Best finishing position, it's also going to be a data type number. Current manager is going to be a short text. When you guys are writing exams, they'll often ask you guys questions and they'll say, change the data type of the field current manager to long text. Are you able to do that? Yes, you are. So if I click over here, first of all, click on the current manager field and then change it to a long text. You can now see that this is a long text. The only time that a short text and long text might differ is when or where it may affect the data is if you've got a very, very long paragraph, a long description, and you change it from a long text to a short text, some of the data may be lost. So let's say you have a paragraph that's that contains 1,000 characters, and you change it to a short text. What's it? 745 of those characters will be lost. Okay, so just a reminder of that. If you do change the short text or the long text to a short text, some of the characters or some of the data might be lost. Okay, so what I'm going to do over here is I'm going to insert a new field just to show you guys where a new field and how a new field can be added. A reminder that every single one of these over here are called fields. This is a field, that is a field, that is a field, that is a field, that is a field. The other name for a field is a column. Okay, so if you see somebody calling it a column, that's not really the correct term, but sometimes people do refer to it as columns. In your exams, they'll generally refer to it as a field. So in your exam, they've now asked you to insert a new field into the database, and you need to call that field age. Okay, let's call it age of players. Okay, what I will do is I'll click on the button that says click to add. Now immediately you have to decide what data you are going to be using for this field. So we are going to be inserting a field called age, right? Age of players. That's the data type that's the field name that we have to know, that we have to insert. So if I'm inserting something that's going to be an age, automatically I should know that it's going to be a number that I have to insert. What's going to happen then is you'll have a field 1 that is inserted there, and we are going to change the name of the field to age of players. And then I can insert my age over here. So let's say Liverpool's age of players is 23. The next one is 45. I can insert my fields, sorry, I can insert my records over here. Just like that. Okay. And then I can also delete them if I don't need them. Just going backspace, backspace, backspace. Okay. I hope that made sense. So what I did there is I inserted a field. I chose a data type for the field, and I knew that the data type had to be a number because I was inserting the age of players, and then I inserted my data type over there. Okay. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to insert another field, but I'm going to choose a different data type. So in the question now, you're sitting in an exam and they've asked you to insert a new field, and that field needs to be based on currency. What I'm first going to do is I'm going to click to add, and then I'm going to click on the currency data type, and I'm going to click on, let's say, what would be a good field to insert here? It would be value of, sorry, that's not correct spelling, value of club. And what I can then do is I can insert a value over here, and it would be $45. Okay, I hope that made sense. What you can do is you can change that to rands, but we are not going to focus on that section too much just yet. We'll do that in a different lesson. And as you can see there, you can insert the value of the clubs over there. Okay. I hope that made sense in terms of adding of different datas, different data types. What you can do as well, just a reminder, is that sometimes the question in your exam may ask you to change the data type of a specific field that is already there. So let's say they ask you to change the clubs field from a short text to a long text. Again, you'll click on field, you'll click on short text, and then you'll change it to a long text over there. Okay, just a reminder that the different data types that you get short text, long text, number, date, time, currency, yes, no, OLE objects. You also get hyperlink and attachments, but you don't have to focus on that too much at this point. Okay, what we are going to do now is we are still going to focus on the data types, but we're going to just look at a couple of different aspects of those data types, specifically long text and short text. Okay, if you guys remember, you guys can put this in the chat if you want, but I'm going to ask you guys a question and post it to everyone in the lesson. if you inserted a data type that was short text, what is the maximum amount of characters that you can insert for a short text? Anyone know? You can post it into the chat. Excellent, very nice. It's going to be 255 characters. Very, very good. Okay. And if you inserted a long text, it's going to be more than 255 characters. What you as the user of a database can do is you can set the long text or the short text to a specific value that you want. So instead of it being exactly 255, you can set it to 5 or 6 or 10 or 15. And generally in your tests and your exams, again, I always refer to tests and exams because it's good to be able to apply this to when you are writing a test or exam. Let's say, for example, I want to add a short text field over here. I'm going to give this short text a name, and I'll call it players. And I'm going to call the first one, let's say, for example, who plays for Liverpool? Salah. And then, there we go. So what I've got currently is I've got a field that's called players, and I've got a record over here called Salah, and the data type is short text. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to change this field size to 10. What that will allow is that will allow a maximum of 10 characters to be typed in under this field. And I'm going to click yes. It says some data may be lost. So just a reminder of what I explained earlier, when you change something from a long text to a short text, immediately some of the data may be lost. It says the size of one or more fields has been changed to a shorter size. If data is lost, validation rules may be violated as a result. Do you want to continue anyways? So basically what it's saying is, do you want to continue with changing short text from 255 characters to 10 characters? Because some of your data may be lost. And for now, I'm just going to click yes. Nothing's going to change. However, if I want to insert a record into the next record over here, you'll notice that I'm only allowed to type in 10 characters. I can't type in any more than that. I hope that you guys can see that, and that it's making a beeping sound when I type over there. I can't type in any more characters than 10. So it basically limits the amount of characters that I can type in into a database. If I change this over here to this short text over here to 1, I will only be allowed to type in. It's asking me the same thing. I click yes. It's only going to be allowing me to type in 1 letter. I can't type in any more than that. Sometimes this is useful if you've got only the first name and you want the surname in the next column. So for example, I'm going to rename this field over here to first name. And then I'm going to click over here. I'm going to add, not there. Over here, I'm going to add a short text called surname. And all I want to know now is I want to know the first name of the player. So it's going to be M. I can't type in any more than that. And then the surname will be Salah. Okay, so what I've done there is I've changed the field size to 1. And you can do this for short text, and you can do this for long text as well. Okay, so that's basically your data types in a nutshell. We are not really going to spend too much more time on that. What we did, however, fail to do yesterday is we failed to finish all the main features of Access. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to spend a little bit of time revising some of that work that we did yesterday, looking at the main features of Access. We looked at tables, queries, forms, and reports. And I'm just going to kind of revise that section so that you guys are familiar with that again and that you haven't kind of lost track of where we are. I'm just going to delete this table over here. I'm going to delete this query over here. And I'm going to delete this form over here. So you'll notice over here that, again, this is my navigation pane. What I have over here is the main aspects of Access. I've got tables, and remember yesterday we did queries, we did forms and reports. And the main thing that you guys need to understand is where to create all of these different features. So if I go up to the top of my screen over here, I have a create option. What I'm able to do there is I'm able to create a table over here. I'm also able to create a query over here. I'm able to create a form over here with the form wizard. And I'm able to create a report with the report wizard. So those are the four main features that you need to know about Access. And it's very, very important because these are tested throughout grade 11 and throughout grade 12. So what I've got over here is I've got a table. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to demonstrate how to create a second table in my database. So first things first, I go to create. I click on table, and then I am going to add a field into my table, and I'm going to call it name because I want to find out the names of people. Okay, and let's say we'll call it first person John, and we'll add a second field, and we want to find out their surname, and we'll give them a surname called Smith. And we'll click on the third field and we'll say we want to find out the age of the person, and we'll type in that they are 18. I've just inserted 1, 2, 3 fields. The first one over here was a short text field. Second one was a short text field, and the third one should be changed to a number. There we go. I'm going to add in another one over there, a name, and Adam Jones, and I'm going to change it to 24. Yeah, I have just inserted a field over here, a field over here, and a field over here, and 1, 2 records. And I'm going to rename this table. Well, let's close it first, or let's save it first. And we're going to call it names. Or let's call it people. And you'll notice that I've now changed the table name over here, and it's going to appear on the left-hand side of my screen. Okay, that is all about tables. The second thing that we didn't really get to yesterday is how to create a query. And if you guys remember what a query is a query is any specific information that we want to draw out of a database. So in a database, you may get a massive amount of information in a database, and it's almost impossible to sift through and find specific details that you are looking for. What you'll then do is you will create a query, and the query will allow you to find specific information. So I'm going to go to create. I'm going to click on query wizard, and this dialog box will appear over here. It's called a simple query wizard, and we'll click OK. Oh, sorry, yeah, there we go. I don't know why it disappeared. Simple query wizard. And now we need to choose from a specific table. So what I want us to do is we are going to select from the Premier League table. And what we're going to try and do is we're going to try and find out the club names. And we're also going to try and find out how many goals they scored this season. So these are all the fields that I can choose from. So I'm going to choose from goals scored, clubs, and you'll notice that I've selected this field now. I'm then going to select the goals scored this season, and you'll notice that I've selected this field. So now, out of all of the fields that you can see over here, I have isolated 2 of them. I've taken 2 of them out in order to create a query and find out specific information about this database. I'm then going to click next, and I'm going to say, I can either, it says, would you like a detail or summary query? And I'm going to say detail. You can select anyone. And we are going to say open the query to view information. So we'll click on finish. And you'll notice now underneath the tables over here on the left side of your screen, you have got a query. And the query has taken out the clubs and the goals scored this season. What I'm going to do now is I'm just going to close it, and I'm going to rename this query because I'd like to rename it to something that is descriptive in terms of what it's actually displaying. So I'm going to say clubs and goals scored. So I've now renamed my query to clubs and goals scored. Very important to know how to rename a query. If I open up the query now, you'll notice that it's only got the clubs and it's only got the goals scored. Yes, quick question. Excellent question. Says, will the query update as the information in the table is updated? Yes, it will. So if the information changes in the database, it will also update in the query. So your query will be saved for later stages where you can access it again. And if the database changes, so will the query. We can actually go through that. Let's just test it out and see that it does change. So over here, I'm going to go to Liverpool, and I'm going to say Liverpool have scored 0 goals this season. If I go over here, you'll notice that if I click on the query, now Liverpool have scored 0 goals. So very good question. Does the query update the data as according to the table? And it does. So I'm going to go back over here and change that over here back to 66. And you'll notice that if I go back to my query, first I have to close the query. It will open up again. It should open up again. Let me just close both of them and open up both of them again. There we go. So just a note over there that if you are going to change that, you just need to close and save them before you open them up again. Otherwise, the data does not update. So you first have to close them before the information does update. Okay, I am going to stop us over there. What we will go through again tomorrow is we'll go through a couple more queries, how to create another query. We'll go through form wizards again, and then report wizards again, and just kind of summarize that information. And then I just want to check PowerPoint again. Sorry, the PowerPoint's just taking a bit of time to load over here. Okay, I hope you guys can see the screen again.
I know we can't see the PowerPoint.
Okay, sorry. Okay, I'm just going to leave it at that. Yeah, we'll continue with Access tomorrow, and yeah, we'll cover the sections that we didn't complete today. Thank you guys very much for being here. If you do want to contact me, you're more than welcome to do so on email. Otherwise, enjoy the rest of your day, and I will see you guys again tomorrow. Chats. Sorry.